breaking down Red Raider baseball like only we can. This is the Talkin' Baseball Podcast from Double T 97.3 and DoubleTSportsNetwork.com.
Welcome into episode number 2 of Talkin' Baseball alongside Jamie Lent. I'm Chois Woodman. We're here through the Double T Sports Network. And Jamie, we got some baseball to talk this fall. Last time you and I sat down, we were going into the Red-Black series. 3 games have been played. We've got a baseball schedule release. We've got a Big 12 tournament format. Lots to get into here. But let's start off with what the product on the field, what we've seen so far in the Red-Black series. Let's kind of open the floor to you. What or who has stood out to you so far?
Well, 3 games so far. The red team has won 2 of the 3. Black team came back to take game 3 to kind of get themselves back in the series. Series continues on Wednesday afternoon at 3, and then they'll play again the final game on Friday. So you're hoping that the black team wins on Wednesday, so they can make that game 5 a little bit more interesting and exciting. We've seen 2 of the games that had both teams scoring in double figures, and then one that was a lower scoring affair. So clearly, the offense has been ahead of the pitching at this point for the Red Raiders. But remember, some of the starting pitchers that you're going to see in the spring are not throwing in the fall in these Red and Black Series games. So a situation where you know that those guys are going to be important for the Red Raiders in the future. Just at this point, you're not using them. You're not risking injury with them, or maybe some of those guys are just trying to rest their arms, so they're not overused at any point. So that makes some sense. So some of the guys that really have stood out to you at this point of the season for the Red Raiders, the first one is your second baseman, Antonelli Salvatore. He's been phenomenal. 9 of 17, homered, 2 triples, 4 doubles. He's driven in 4. He's a smaller guy. Yeah. He's got a little pop. His home run was an inside the park home run, but he's extremely fast. Yeah. Okay. But of his 9 hits, 7 of them have been for extra bases. And this is a guy that's a leadoff hitter type guy. He's going to put the ball in play, not strike out a lot, but showing you there's some pop and potential with him being a guy that's hitting at the top of your lineup. So he's really looked good defensively at second base as well. And he, I would say, so far has been the star of the Red and Black series. But he's not been the only one. Plenty of other guys have had good 3-game stretch so far at the plate. Right. Kyler Thompson, another newcomer who will be one of the Red Raiders center fielders, 7 hits so far. He scored 5 runs and driven in 3. Logan Hughes had a massive game 1 of the series where he had a grand slam and 2 doubles. He's gone 6 for 13 with 2 homers and 9 driven in so far in 3 games. Damian Bravo doing what we expect from one of your returners, 7 of 17. He's homered, 3 doubles, 4 driven in. Hudson Parker, who pitched for you last year, we talked about him moving to the catching and first base position this year. He's got 7 hits so far in 3 games, a homer, a couple of doubles, so showing you some pop there. And Dylan Maxey, who's probably going to be your starting catcher. I think at this point he's ahead of Davis Rivers. Yeah. Maxey will see the most time behind the plate. 9 of 15, a couple of doubles, 6 runs driven in so far. So those are all a bunch of guys who have really swung the bat well. As I said, 2 of the games have had both teams scoring 10-plus runs, so you would expect some big offensive numbers. A couple of guys who have really stood out on the mound with some really good performances. In Game 1, it was freshman Will Jordan. Finished that game out, faced 8 batters and retired all of them. He was the only pitcher that day of 9 that didn't give up a run. He didn't let even a base runner on. He was terrific. Also had 1 strikeout, got the win that first day. And then Tyler Boudreau, who's a right-hander, a junior college transfer, he started Game 2, went 4 innings, gave up 2 hits and no runs. He's probably been the most impressive starter so far in the Red and Black series. So those are some of the guys that really have jumped out and pitched well. JT Drake threw really well last time out on Sunday. He didn't throw as well in the first game back to last Wednesday, so it was nice to see him bounce back. Zach Crotchfeld looked pretty good on the mound as a starter in Game 2. So you've got other guys that have had good days, but these are the guys that really have had standout days so far.
So what you've seen so far from this Red-Black team, and I know this is kind of like spring football. I mean,
Sure.
you got your own guys against your own guys, so judge it however you want to. But what you've seen so far, I mean, just calling a spade, you're coming off of a not fun season last year.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
But what you've seen, does it restore some confidence, some hope that you're going to have a good season this coming year?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different guys that I feel like have the potential to help you in different ways, whether it be power guys, whether it be on base percentage kind of guys.
Yeah.
But I love what we're seeing from some of these guys that maybe, in the Red and Black series are playing better than they were playing in the fall scrimmages, and we saw about 20 fall scrimmages, and like Savateri, for example, heading into the Red and Black series, I was probably would tell you that I thought Damian Bravo was going to be your starting second baseman.
Yeah.
Okay, now after seeing 3 games of the Red and Black series, I think you would think to yourself, man, if Savateri can hit like that, do what he's doing, you're going to keep Bravo in one of those outfield spots, so you can get your best 9 hitters.
Yeah.
Best 9 hitters out there in the lineup. And so when you have versatile guys like Bravo, as Coach Tadlock, one of his famous quotes is, if you can hit, we'll find a spot for you to stand,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
Well, Bravo can play all over the field, just like many of these other guys. Hudson Parker,
Sure.
we talked about a minute ago, another one of those guys. And so it gives Coach Tadlock an option to move guys infield, outfield, DH, first base, outfield, whatever, catcher, DH, first base. A lot of guys like that. Davis Rivers, another guy, that can play either first base or catcher, can DH for you. So there's a lot of guys like that give Coach Tadlock a lot of versatility when he's making up the lineup card, and you're basically just able to, hey, I'm going to go with the hot hand here.
Yeah.
I'll figure out which 9 and then find out where they play. Now there's key spots on the field, right, where defense matters more. Catcher, shortstop,
up the middle,
center field, up the middle. Those things really matter.
Yeah.
But you also have multiple guys in those positions that have stood out as well. So I think what I would tell you, what I've seen so far, and if you're going to ask me what strengths do you gather that the team has at this point, just a lot of different bats that can hurt you in different ways. We've seen the ball fly out of the ballpark, but we've seen a lot more alley hits, doubles, triples.
Yeah.
We've seen him stealing a lot of bases in the Red and Black series, being really aggressive in that regard. So it's just an offense that doesn't have to beat you with the home run maybe as much as we've seen in recent years, and instead has the versatility to beat you with a little bit of small ball or not necessarily small ball, not like you're bunting all the time or anything like that, but being able to get a line shot into the gap for a double to drive in a run rather than having to hit it out of the ballpark.
Yeah, and I like that versatility to be able to do it, because it's not like the ability to hit it out of the ballpark has gone away. We've seen several home runs in this Red-Black series and plenty of pop in the bats, but it's not all about that, and that's, I think, kind of a relief in some of your recent years where you've come from. So we'll continue to talk Red-Black series as the Red Raiders will play their final 2, depending on where you're listening to this. You got Wednesday and Friday of this week. But a schedule was released late last week, Jamie, and what are your initial thoughts on this schedule? Because you got some interest, a lot more, I think, away from home early in the season than we're used to. Some big-time opponents mixed in there, and of course we already knew it was coming. But 10 series in conference play, so that limits your non-conference. What was your initial reaction when you saw the schedule?
Well, another typical Tim Tadlock schedule where he's not necessarily easing his guys in.
Right.
He's going to go play on the road against quality teams early on in the season, A, for RPI points, and B, to figure out what his team can do. And so, you figure everybody's going to get a shot early on to show what they can do, and that's important. But again, we're not going to schedule a bunch of patsies at the beginning of the year to rack up the wins.
Yeah.
We're going to learn and get better off of tough games. And so the schedule is a whole 26 games against teams that were in the NCAA tournament a year ago. As a matter of fact, your first 8 games against teams that were in the NCAA tournament last year, and your first 3 games at North Carolina on the road against a team that played in the College World Series a year ago.
Yep.
So you're going to start out with 3 really tough ones on the road in Chapel Hill, and that should be a fun trip for the Red Raiders, just because we know the history of the University of North Carolina and all that good stuff. But that's a really good baseball team that the Tar Heels had a season ago that played in Omaha, and you expect them to be really good again this year. So that jumps out, right? And then a week later, you play at home against UC Irvine. Again, NCAA tournament team last year. You get 3 games there. And from there, you head to Vegas to play Illinois, the Longhorns, and Washington. So really fun start to the season, it feels like, for the Red Raiders with the teams that you're facing off with. But it's not going to be easy. The schedule right off the bat might not be the record right off the bat might not be the prettiest. But you're going to find out what this team is made of early on.
Sure, absolutely. So everybody comes for Jamie Lent's opinion. So what are your just personal 3 series you are most excited for in 2025?
3 that I'm most excited for. I would say the North Carolina one. Yeah. Just because you're going to learn so much about your team, right? Yep. To find out, so many new players on this year's squad, 28 of them, I believe. So you're going to find out in a hurry what some of these guys can do. They're going to be put under the microscope of playing in big-time games against, probably great crowds there at North Carolina. And so right off the bat, I would tell you that's one that jumps out at me. Next on the list, I would probably go to the road trip to BYU to end the regular season.
I thought that might be on there.
Just the stadium and the backdrop and all of it's there at BYU looks really, really cool. After that, Choice, I'm going to tell you 2 home series, and I know you asked me for 3. I'm giving you 4.
That's okay.
These 2 tie for 3rd, okay? TCU and Arizona. You get TCU in March 21st through the 23rd. You get Arizona late in April. 2 home series that feel like they are massive. Those are 2 teams that are probably going to finish in the top 4 or 5 of the Big 12 Conference this year. So the home field, you got to take advantage of that. Got to take care of business against those 2 teams. So those, to me, will be big deciders in where you are in the conference standings. I will say this, though, Choice. So you mentioned it earlier, 14 teams in the league, Big 12 baseball-wise, because 2 teams, Iowa State and Colorado, get out of here with that. They don't play baseball. This is America. What are we doing? Okay. You don't play, so they don't play baseball. So you have 14 teams in the league. You're obviously one of the teams. So there's only 13 that you could play. You only play 10, okay? And so 3 you don't play. Nobody cares if you don't play Utah. Nobody cares if you don't play KU. But you don't get to play Oklahoma State this year. And it feels like every year that's such a good rivalry that you need to be playing Oklahoma State. Last year you went up there. You ended up only playing 2, lost them both because of, and then lost the 3rd one because of weather. But it's just a great rivalry, and those 2 staffs and programs and radio broadcasters, all the above, they don't like each other, okay? So I'm joking a little bit there. But it's just a great rivalry, and you really want to see those 2 teams play. So it's a little bit disappointing that you don't have the Cowboys on the schedule this year.
The only good news is you avoid any sort of Josh Holiday shenanigans. So
there's definitely some.
That's good. Yeah. But yeah, I'm with you. I would like to see that one on the schedule. One more I'd point out that you don't want to sleep on is the Baylor series in April, just because there's been some weird games where you've expected to beat them and you haven't in recent years. So
trying to remember the series there last year. Didn't you only score 5 runs?
Yeah, and that was a series you're playing pretty well going into, and just kind of dropped it there in Waco. So maybe a little revenge there as you get them at home this year. But overall schedule, you can check it out. Go click on the baseball tab up at doubleTSportsNetwork.com, and you can see the entire schedule for Texas Tech baseball in 2025. And Jamie, also with the schedule release, we also learned what the Big 12 tournament format's going to look like, and this is totally different than what we're used to.
Did not see this one coming, and for anybody that knows me and knows what I've thought of the Big 12 baseball tournament, over the last 10, 12 years, it's really sad to me that you're in a situation where you're playing double elimination, and some of the teams clearly don't want to be there,
Right.
especially after they lose that first game. They know they're getting into the NCAA tournament. They know that they need to be ready for that. And for them to have to, after you lose a game, win 4 or 5 more games or whatever, it just makes it crazy.
Sure
knowing that teams are really not dying to be there at that point. They'd be okay with losing and heading back home. The Red Raiders have been in that situation at times, but you've seen it from other teams as well.
Yeah.
Tech is not the only one. So this year they've changed the format. 12 teams get in. Okay, so 12 out of 14. 2 teams are left at home. You don't get to go. It's all single elimination, which you just don't see that much in baseball. And so on the first day, it'll be Wednesday through Saturday in Arlington. The dates are May 20th through the 24th. And the first day, you'll have teams 5 through 12 playing. Top 4 seeds get a first round bye to the next round. After that first day, those winners then move on to play seeds 1 through 4. The losers, you can head back home.
Yeah.
You can head back home. It's a quick trip to Arlington if you lose in the first round, and there'll probably be some good baseball teams that are sent packing after day 1.
Probably.
But it sure does make it exciting, right?
Yeah.
You're talking about every game being, life or death, right?
Mm-hmm.
You advance and move on, or your season comes to an end. So everybody's going to put their best foot forward. And there's no, after you lose the first one, you're like, oh, man, we really don't want to be here. We're not going to try to lose, but we don't really want to be here.
We're not going to throw our best guys.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about that. And so I think this is going to make it really exciting. So there'll be 4 games on Wednesday, 4 games on Thursday, 2 semifinal games on Friday, and 1 championship game on Saturday. None of this bogus about having to beat a team twice to advance to the final. None of that, okay? Just win in advance and move on. So although it's different, it's not typical baseball. Usually it's about series and all that kind of stuff. I just think it puts a lot of intensity in it. I think it's going to make it fun. And again, if you're a team that doesn't need it and you're not all in, well, you don't have to be there that long, right? Instead, you get teams that are really wanting to be there and knowing that maybe their postseason lives are on the line, and they need to keep winning to advance and try to win the conference tournament. I just think that brings the intensity and it'll make for a really exciting tournament.
I'm curious what the vote looked like from Big 12 coaches.
Mm-hmm.
I would guess the teams like Texas Tech and TCU and Oklahoma State that are typically at the top of the league probably wanted this. They probably wanted to see this because you don't want elongated time in these tournaments. And maybe the ones that don't spend time there probably didn't want it because they want the better chance at getting. But I'm with you. I think as far as excitement goes and buzz around the tournament, this is a great move by the Big 12 Conference and an opportunity to really make the tournament more entertaining, which seems to be the name of the game nowadays.
No doubt.
So there we go. We've got Red-Black Series. We've got the Texas Tech baseball schedule and now Big 12 tournament. So join us out at the ballpark. Again, Red-Black Series continues on Wednesday at 3 o'clock. And then Friday, do we get a game time?
They haven't given game time yet at this point. I would imagine it's going to be during the day. It's supposed to be cooler.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're trying to figure out if it's going to rain. There's a men's basketball game at 7 o'clock.
That's right.
And so it's not going to – I would be shocked if it was in the evening. I would imagine it would be somewhat early depending on what the weather looks like.
And could adjust for weather like we saw last week.
Yeah, could be moved to Sunday depending on rain or whatever.
So Red-Black Series continues. We'll talk again next week on the other side of the Red-Black Series. For Jamie Lentz, I'm Chois Woodman. It's been Talking Baseball, powered by Double T 97.3.
Breaking down Red Raider baseball like only we can. This is the Talkin' Baseball Podcast from Double T 97.3 and DoubleTSportsNetwork.com.